So let's see if anybody joins us here. I can't get on YouTube to go over more of the calls. So I figured maybe I'd pop on here then and see if anybody has anything they want to discuss. Any questions, comments, concerns? Let me know. I'll hang around for a little bit and see if anybody has anything, and if not, I'll go about my business. So I see there's 5 people watching. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about Stephen's case? Do you have questions about Melissa or Marnie? Fire away. I made a post in Gossip saying that I couldn't go live on YouTube today because I had told people yesterday I would. So I'm reading those responses right now. So 16 people here now. Come on, people now. What would you like to talk about? Do you want to talk about the state asking for, hey, Vinny, the state asking for more time, which let me go grab my iPad because I think on my iPad is where I have it saved where I can look up the thing. No, there's been no update on if the motion to extend time has been approved or not. Hello, Julie, but everything says they will approve it. No, we don't know, Janine, how long they have. I don't know how long they have, I should say. Because I'm just really bad at keeping track of all the different numbers because I've got this weird number thing that I can't I can't remember numbers. It's really weird. So everything's always a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, 120-day. I can't remember which is what is what. So, but Buting had said that this is to be expected and it'll be approved unless they're asking for a whole bunch of time, a bigger stretch. So, hello, Lexi, Wisconsin native. Well, thank you for being here, Lexi. So, yeah, so there was supposed to be the state's response is due or was due on the 11th, but they're asking for more time. So we'll see how much more time they'll get. And as soon as we find that out, we'll let you know. And then in the other cases that I advocate for, that I post a lot about in MAM Gossip, is Melissa Kaluzinski and Marnie Yang. And Marnie, her next hearing is on February 27th, and Melissa's is the 28th. So we have those two ones back to back. And Melissa Kaluzinski is represented by Kathleen Zellner. Oh, I have to scroll to see your comments. Samantha, hello, Samantha, and Audrey, and Debbie, and Leah. Is it Leah or Lee? I always pronounce it when it's AH as Leah. So, yeah, so I'm on here. And sorry, guys, that we haven't been live in Facebook in forever, that I've been doing all the lives over on YouTube, because people will say if they don't catch it live here, they have a hard time finding it. And so YouTube has just seemed to be an easier way to do that and to be able to find them later. And plus, so much has been happening in Facebook world that I get paranoid that Facebook's time is coming to an end, is going to go by the wayside like MySpace. So it's like, all right, that's why I've been on YouTube. So, you know, oh, good, Leah. And hello, Sheena. So that's why it's over there. And then also when it's in YouTube, it's public and open to anybody can see it, as opposed to over here in MAM Gossip being a closed group. So but so I'm like, all right, well, I can't get on YouTube today. I've got some time that I was planning on doing the Stephen Avery jail calls. So come on here. And I tried to come on here yesterday actually, and I couldn't figure out how to get my good camera and my good microphone working on here, but I figured it out. So, all right. So yeah, so Stephen, we're waiting to see if the extension's going to be approved, and it will be. And as soon as we get the date for that, we'll let y'all know. And then over on YouTube, we've been going through the tons of jail calls, which I understand. I've seen some posts here in Gossip where people don't like that we're doing that. And I totally understand your opinion on it. I hate going through them also myself. At first, I thought this was going to be interesting and could be a good thing. And in my opinion, the calls further show Stephen's innocence. Okay. That, you know, there's nothing in there ever that makes him sound guilty or where he's changing anything. He's still innocent, but he's coming across as a very unlikable man. And you can determine for yourself if you want to excuse that behavior due to the life he's led, or if it's going to make you hate the man. But the thing that I tell people to always remember in that is you don't have to like Stephen to see that he's innocent and support that this man shouldn't be in prison for something he didn't do. Same for Brendan. So I understand the people who don't want to listen to the calls. And I do understand the people, because I've had people in my personal life too tell me that this is a bad thing. I really wish you weren't covering these calls. And they're out there, so, and people want to hear them, so that's why I'm covering them. But you know, there's been times that's been pretty rough in listening to them, especially where we're at now in the calls, where he's cutting off his parents and threatening to sue them, and it's just getting really ugly. So but as I was writing them down today, we're currently in May of 2006 in the calls, and they go through March of 2007 is what's currently uploaded, and they still keep getting more. So we have about 300 in, I can't read my writing now, if it's 309 or 389 calls to go. And I can't wait to be done with them. Then let's see. So talk about Melissa Kaluzinski. If you haven't looked into her case, that's Kaluzinski with a C. She's been in prison for 11 years. They say that she killed a toddler when she was at work in a daycare. And her confession was coerced after hours and hours of being in the, tiny room. Excuse me. Them using the read technique. You can see it all for yourself. You can search on YouTube the Melissa Kaluzinski interrogation tapes. And then there are two 48 hours episodes on her case. One is called Blaming Melissa, and the other one is called The Fight for Melissa. Kathleen Zellner is in those. She's been Melissa's attorney for a while now, before Making a Murderer came out. She was on Melissa's case. So we're hoping happy thoughts for Melissa for her hearing on February 28th. She's in the federal court, so that will be in Chicago at the federal building. Audrey says, this poor man has had his life ripped away from him. Just wish this would end and set him free. I agree. I mean, there are so many people in prison and they're innocent. And in Stephen's case, there's just overwhelming, in my opinion, overwhelming evidence that proves his innocence. And our corrupt system just keeps him in there. And people do that, thin blue line that they need to cover for the other corrupt law enforcement for whatever they did, however they covered stuff up. So, and then with how long everything takes, why am I so tired all with all the setbacks and pushbacks and going back to the same judge. And don't ask for the president. We get a lot of people that bring the president into it for the president to do something. There's nothing he can do. It's a state issue, not federal. The governor could pardon him, but that's not what you want. You really only want a pardon or clemency if you're guilty and you're scrambling for any way to get out, or you're on death row. Like in the Damien Eccles case that they took the Alford plea to get out. So you don't want any of that. Why? Because then you can't hold the state accountable for what happened to you, and you will forever be listed as a felon. So no way to clear your record. You're let go, you get to claim your innocence, but you're still guilty. So for Stephen and Brendan and Melissa and Marnie, if you're to do that, then you can't try and get $36 million that puts you in prison all over again, right? So that's not something that's going to happen in any of those cases. And Kathleen doesn't take a case unless she knows them to be innocent. She doesn't have to just take any case. So, but she has said that it typically takes 12 years to overturn the conviction. And so she's only been on Stephen's case since what was it, January 2017? Making a Murderer come out in 2016, December 2016. See, numbers, I'm not good with them. So she hasn't been on it for 12 years. And it's so dumb the way you go through the courts and you go up and up and up and denied, and then you can start all over again because now there's this new evidence that we're trying to get through, and go up and up and up and okay, denied, back down, start again. It's so frustrating. And people are losing their lives. Julie says, is there any more appeals for Brendan for his attorneys to file? No. Brendan is out of options. That's why they were appealing to the governor and trying to get the governor to pardon him. So, and if Kathleen gets Stephen out it doesn't mean Brendan goes free. Brendan confessed. So it could be said that Brendan was then just covering for Bobby and said Steven instead. So Brendan needs at this point a pardon or the real killer to be proven. Okay, thank you, Sheena. Yeah, because I know it's December and I think it was 2015. Yeah, okay, thank you. So and then she took it. So it came out like on the 20th or something like that in December. And I believe she took Steven's case like the second week of January. So yeah, it's just a whole lot of waiting. And I used to talk to Steven and visit with him, but I haven't heard from him since my last visit of Father's Day of last year. So I don't know how Steven's doing. Um, I don't know anything anymore on that, but I'm still here proclaiming his innocence. Leah says, my heart hurts for him. I didn't even realize that Brendan was out of options. Ugh. Yeah. Brendan went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court turned it down. The Supreme Court really only take, I think it's like 2% of cases submitted to them. So the Supreme Court denied hearing Brendan's case. So yeah, he is left with getting a pardon or the real killer being proven. But even then, say it's proven that Bobby Dassey did this, people would still say, well, everything Brendan said happened, it just happened with Bobby. So it's really tough there. But that brings me to voting. It's an election year. So be looking at who's running in your area for, your judges and attorneys and sheriff or whatever. So if you have people that are running that really aren't trying to improve our criminal justice system, get them out of there. So I know there's so many people who say my vote doesn't matter. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. But just look at if these judges or, the Manitowoc County Sheriff, all that, if they weren't there, look at what happened to the coroner in Steven's case. And that's an elected position. The coroner in Melissa's case, they went after him, took him out. So you got to vote, and you're not just looking at who's running for president. You need to look at all those bottom things because they affect people then who get charged with crimes. Hi, Tara. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm getting emails. Audrey, what kills me about Brendan, they had no proof that his confession was real, no DNA. Yeah. There's nothing in Steven's trailer to show that Brendan was ever in there. There's nothing with the RAV4 to show that Brendan was anywhere near the RAV4. They have nothing to, honestly, in my opinion, they have nothing that proves Teresa Halbach's even dead. Now, I believe she's dead. I just don't believe. There's no proof that anything there that was at the fire pit is Teresa Halbach. And also, when you have the same corrupt people like Sherry Culhane, who purposely didn't look at the DNA in Steven's first case with Penny Bernstein and let that drag out and let him sit in prison for longer, and you have people telling her, make sure you put Teresa Hallback in his trailer or garage, everything is tainted. You're the boy that cried wolf. So I can't trust anything you claim you have found because it's already been proven you will lie to push your narrative. So, yeah, Elizabeth, I can't get on YouTube. I can't do a live on YouTube for some reason. It asked me to verify my cell phone number, and then it says now I have to wait 24 hours before it's activated that I can go live. I have no idea why, or if now I've just been scammed. I don't know. So, hopefully I'll be able to go on YouTube tomorrow and continue on with the calls. Tara says the state essentially kidnapped Stephen and Brendan on tunnel vision. I mean, they took Stephen in custody right away. You hear them in the law enforcement calls where has Stephen Avery been taken into custody yet? Why would he be taken into custody yet? At that point, they hadn't found bones, nothing. So Stephen was suing for $36 million because they framed him in the Penny Bernstein case and they needed it to go away. And this just fell in their laps. Debbie says, through all the phone calls we've listened to, the one thing Stephen keeps saying is innocent people don't run. Good one, Debbie. Yeah. So Stephen is right away letting them search anything, and I'll do a lie detector. I'll do this. I'll do that. A guilty person doesn't do that. And in all this time that Stephen has been incarcerated, whether or not it was in jail or prison, his story never changes. They're listening to all his phone calls. They're spying on him when he's with his lawyer, which is illegal. But Sweaty Sweat Sweat posted that on Twitter that you could see Buting in there talking with Stephen. That's illegal. But so that means they have been watching everything, watching and listening. They have nothing. You're telling me Stephen is this brilliant mastermind that all these years and all these phone calls and all these visits that he wouldn't say something that would make him seem guilty? Same thing goes for Brendan. The things that Brendan claimed that he did to Teresa Hallback were all told to him and he parroted them. Draw this and now draw that and draw this. What'd you do to her head? What else? What else? What else? These guys have never said anything that would say they're guilty. Let me scroll to a couple more comments that just came in. Yeah, I'm on Facebook today, Debbie, because I can't get on YouTube for the next 24 hours, apparently, as they're verifying my cell phone connected to the YouTube account. So I'm like, I'll come on here for a little bit since I haven't been here since we started doing the whole YouTube thing. So we're waiting for the state to respond to Kathleen's filing. And then we'll see after that when the court will rule on if Stephen can get an evidentiary hearing or a new trial. And she's using the information that Carol Ann Fitzgerald, and now your married name is Lee, right? Sorry, I can't remember for sure. But that Carol Ann sent on to Kathleen how the bones from the gravel pit, not the quarry that's right next to the salvage yard, but the gravel pit even farther away, that the bones from the gravel pit were returned to the Hallback family. But you had claimed that's not Teresa and you didn't even know if it was human bones. So why would you give those bones to Teresa's family? And there's so much that's wrong with that. You've now destroyed evidence, because even if those bones had been buried, if you dig them up, it's the chain of custody has been broken. So can you really prove that those are these, and blah, blah, blah. And why were they given to them so many years later? It wasn't like this was right after the crime and this is when Teresa Service was. And so, we'll give you all of Teresa. And you're supposed to keep things in evidence as long as somebody is incarcerated. You can't destroy that or get rid of that. So that's what we're waiting for now. James, that's what we've been talking about. And hello, Zoe. We're still waiting for the state to respond to the prosecution asking the court to respond to the state asking for more time before they submit their response to Kathleen's last brief. So it's just waiting, James. There's so much waiting, and it sucks. Tara says they didn't bank on Stephen getting an excellent lawyer and making a murderer. Right. So, and it's interesting. Okay, there you do get some nuggets in listening to the calls, because who Stephen has to thank for all of this is Debbie. There's this girl, Debbie, that here, this is another thing that we're finding in the calls that shows Stephen to be an asshole, is there was this girl, I say girl, it's a woman, who, much like Stephen has now, where, I say the thing all the time of there's a difference between supporters and fans. And so she's like a fan and had seen it on the news and was convinced that Stephen was innocent. And this was way back then. This is, so this is before he's even gone to trial. This is when he's just been arrested. And this girl is trying to help Stephen. And Stephen leads her on and lets her think that they're dating. We've listened to calls where they have sex talk. And so this girl had no idea, had never heard of Jody, didn't know Stephen had a girlfriend. But it was Debbie who was reaching out anywhere and everywhere to try and get help for Stephen. And she is the one that first talked to the documentarians, Laura and Moira, from Making a Murderer. So if it wasn't for everything that Debbie was doing, this all wouldn't happen. If Debbie doesn't talk to Laura and Moira, then no Making a Murderer gets made. And if no Making a Murderer gets made, then Kathleen Zellner doesn't take the case, because Stephen had been writing to Kathleen prior to Making a Murderer and asked her to take his case, and she didn't. She turned it down. So she only took it after Making a Murderer came out. Zoe says, imagine what if they test them and they are not a match to Teresa. Right, Zoe? Or if you want to get real conspiracy, what if it's, I see your next line. What if they are Carmen Bootwell? Yeah. So just a little suspicious on why you would give it to the bones to the Hallback family that were found in the gravel pit. That makes no sense. And there's so much about this case that makes no sense. Like when you look at the log, the signing in and out of the salvage yard, why are Scott Blodorn, Ryan Hilgas, and Mike Hallbach going in and out of the salvage yard? This wasn't when it's, a search party thing, because the person from the search party was Pam of God. And this is well after that. So why are these boys that are connected to Teresa going in and out of a crime scene. Yet, you kick everybody out of their homes. Dolores, Chuck, Barb, everybody was forced to leave their homes, which their homes had nothing to do with their narrative on what happened to Teresa. So you're not letting Dolores get her medication, but you're letting those three boys go in and out of the property. Hello, Christina. Tara, especially when they are possibly human, right? But remember, and Krat said, I'm not even going to spend 5 minutes or whatever it was. We don't even know if these are human. Yeah, Zoe says Ryan stated they were only there for 15 minutes. You can go to StephenAveryCase.org and you can see the login sheets. And I know I have them posted here in photos too. But there's multiple days that those three boys were in and out of that property. And there's times that either they were signed in and don't sign out, or they've signed out and didn't sign in. So it's all kind of screwed up. And then why is every time something of importance is found that it's Manitowoc County that finds it, even though they were told not to be part of this? So, oh, well, we needed help. Oh, well, that's fascinating that they're the ones that find this magic key and magic bullet. And then you don't take any pictures when you allegedly find bones in the burn pit. And you blame Bear for it, but Bear's chained up. So how come you can't get pictures from one side of the pit and Bear is on the other? So you're covering that up as well. Protocol is you take pictures. You lay down the little tabs, where you number everything, and you take pictures. Nope. And then you don't let the coroner on the scene. Why don't you let the coroner on the scene? That is her job. 20 seconds. Thank you, Zoe. And hi, Snooze. And Christina, why can't KZ have the RAV for testing? That makes no sense to me either, Christina. Why can't she have it? Shouldn't Steven's side be able to look at the evidence for themselves? There's fingerprints on that car that they've never bothered trying to figure out whose fingerprints they are. Why not? Because once they saw that it didn't match Steven or Brendan, we don't care. And then you have that broken light. Did she get that broken light herself? Or did somebody else break it when they were planting the car, driving it through a salvage yard, that they didn't quite know where all the bumps were? Or did they have to push a car out of the way to get into the salvage yard coming back through the quarry? Right, Zoe, are we even sure the RAV is still there? Nope, we have no idea. Because they gave the bones away. Where's the car? Oh, Petra, did they get the extension? Let me pull that page up on my iPad. I've been on here for 34 minutes, and when I went on there at the beginning, it wasn't there, but now it is. So it was granted. At the time of the respondent to file its respondent's brief is extended to March 27. So I'll take a screenshot of that at some point and get that posted for you all. So now we have March 27th for that. Oh my God. Thank you, Petra. Audrey, or if somebody wants to take a screenshot of it, or have you already and submitted it to Gossip, let me click on this one over here. Nope, nobody submitted it. If somebody wants to submit it to gossip, take the screenshot and submit it. I'll post it, and then I'll also share it on Stephen Avery Project. Audrey, with the improper documentation seen throughout the case, I don't trust the whole truth is told. I don't think we'll ever know. There's no way to ever know on what truly happened. Tara says, Zoe, for all we know, they give her Rav back, hence the holdup. Yeah, because those are the two things that Kathleen wanted, that they were in agreement that she would get. She would get the Rav and she would get those bones. And now we know those bones were given to the Hallback family. Zoe says the statistic says females are in most cases murdered by people they are close to or they know. Right. And they never really looked into Ryan Hilgas, Bradley Check. You know, they were questioned a little bit, but they were so focused from the get-go that it was Stephen. Because even originally, when you listen to the police calls, you hear that the zippers were her last appointment. But then it got switched to saying Stephen was the last, because it's like, oh, now we have to push this narrative that Stephen is the one that did this. Yes, thank you very much, Petra. Zoe, Ryan was the leader from day one. And Ryan got into her email, he got into her cell phone, and he deleted calls that were in her voicemail. Why? I truly think that Ryan Hilgas, Scott Blodorn, and Michael Hallback were part of getting that Rav planted at the salvage yard. And I firmly believe they did it because the police told them that Stephen Avery did this and that he was going to get away with it because of his case against Manitowoc, and that all they had was circumstantial stuff and they needed something concrete. And so I do not think those boys, men, were a part of Teresa's disappearance. I think they're part of the cover up. Audrey, another month of waiting. And Andrea says, at least it's only a month and not 3 months. Yeah. Deanna says 2 in a row. Yeah. Victoria says, I honestly think the Rav is gone, and that's why they won't let KZ see it. Just trying to cover up. There's no reason to hide it if there's nothing there, as they say. Right. Come out wherever you are. You know, so if you can't produce it, and you agreed with Kathleen that you would give it to her, but now you don't. So you're covering something up. Zoe said, yeah, you cannot believe anything they say. Even queso is a lie. Yep. Sam says, and I think I watched, they were taking pictures of the RAV4 light in 2017. Funny how it's never important until KZ spoke about the light, right? Well, and that's, you know, the state got a lot of their stuff by other people. They did not take Bobby Dassey's computer until Stephen was talking to his lawyers about it, and them listening, and then they knew to focus on that computer. That's why in all these hundreds, thousands of calls that we're listening to, what they did when Stephen was in jail prior to going to trial, they put him in a spot in the jail that he wasn't with anyone else. And he literally has a phone in his cell that he can use whenever he wants for however long he wants. That doesn't happen. So they wanted him on the phone because they want to listen and they want to find out anything he says that they can try and use against him. And that's what they did. Stephen mentioned Bobby's computer and telling his lawyers to go get it. And the next day, the state went and took it. Victoria says, so it's in a legal document that they agreed to give the RAV, but the state is corrupt and won't follow up with that. Yeah, Victoria, there is, I can't remember when or where, but it was agreed with Kathleen that the RAV and the bones. Yeah, Zoe, I know. I was focusing over on YouTube, and yeah, I was neglecting over here in gossip. And I've said the whole time too, because like right now there's 44 people on, but when I'm on YouTube, I think we max out at like 20 people, so there's more people in gossip that want to do these live things, but I I think YouTube is the better place to be, that the stuff is easier to find and stay. And now I'm blacked out from doing videos for the next hour. And thank you, Lynn, so much for posting the extension. Natasha, how long did they get the extension for? To March 27th. Zoe says, and don't forget, Ryan provided all the evidence to the police. The only time they called Karen was for the, how do you pronounce that? Is that Lemieux? Lemieux? The Mew sticker on the RAV. How did Ryan get the letters Teresa sent? Right. Well, the whole day planner, that she wrote something handwritten is in there on the day she was going on these appointments. Yet Ryan Hilgas had it. So how is that possible? And it was also said when he was in her singular account, he didn't get all the calls. He just took the ones that he thought was of importance that he then gave to Sweaty Sweat Sweat, who Kratz then only put into evidence the ones that he wanted to. It's not even her full phone report. Debbie says, I think when Brendan got arrested, Barb didn't know anything. She does now, though. I agree with you, Debbie. That's another thing that we've learned from listening to these calls. And just Barb's behavior and everything, I believe she didn't know who did this at the time. I do not think that she purposely set up Brendan to take the fall for Bobby. I don't think she knew. I think she was selfish and a bad mom, that she didn't demand to be in the room with Brendan anytime he was interrogated. And she was somebody that, she's got the two teen boys, that are still in high school, and she's spending her nights catting around at Scott's house. So she wasn't a good mom, but she loves all her boys. She wants Brendan home. She doesn't want Brendan in prison. And I don't believe she wants Stephen in prison either. I don't believe she thinks Stephen is guilty. But it was so easy to get Barb to flip and flop, so she would see this and then be screaming at Stephen. And then, then she was fine. And when you look at the visitor logs, Barb and Dolores were the only ones that visited Stephen all those years until Making a Murderer came out. And then the other ones came around. So Barb was still visiting her brother. And Barb has always been very mistreated by her family. You would think, since she's the only girl, maybe she would get some kind of special attention. But it just seems the whole family has never liked Barb, and she's just been treated like the black sheep. Right, Debbie, he guessed his phone password. Zoe says, why do you think she married Scott so quickly? Yeah, at that point, it's going to be because of testifying and just There's Zoe, there's so much weirdness right there with claiming bankruptcy and buying that house and Barb getting arrested for marijuana possession, which was all Scott's pot. And then you have Bobby was dealing out of the salvage yard as well as stealing car parts and selling those. There's a lot of suspicious stuff there. You know, um, Tina, that's because of Scott. Yeah, they got married. Yeah, they got married during the trial. Yeah. Um, and also Scott constantly is getting out of working, going out on workman's comp, for back injury or whatever. But now when you go on, um, this assistance, tax time and everything, you got to pay it back. So remember, I don't do numbers, but I want to say it was something like 8 grand he had to pay back. And all of a sudden, it was mysteriously able to be paid. It was paid. They bought a house. They got married. Curiouser and curiouser. I fully believe this was Bobby and Scott. And on the off chance, eh, yeah, no, it has to be Bobby and Scott. And so just the only questions for me is who did what with Teresa? So did Bobby leave the RAV at the dam with Teresa in it? And that's what Colborne, when he called in the plates. So did they get the body in her vehicle and do what with? Or did Scott and Bobby take her body to Scott's work and throw her in the smelter like the Sikiki letter says? Tina, the reason she flipped on her family is because of Scott. He pushed her family out. Yeah, Tina, but I think there's stuff prior to that. You know, that family, we're learning more and more in these calls are very toxic. And you have, Barb cheating on all of her husbands and um Pete Dassey marrying Steven's ex-wife. And so then Steven's ex-wife poisoning the kids against Steven. Um, yeah, it's so intertwined and hard to figure it all out. Christy says it's amazing he can't work, but hunting, fishing, etc. has no effect. Yeah, right. Oh, my back hurts so bad that I can't go to work, but I'm gonna go sit in this deer stand for hours. Julie says Barb and Scott were rewarded by the state. Sad to say. That's where'd that money come from? Petra says Stephen mentions Scott had a felony. Scott broke into his ex-wife's house, right? It was ex-wife, not a girlfriend. Also, did you know that Scott's ex-wife is Barb Taddock? He married another Barb. Um, and but whatever woman it was, he pushed her around and was threatening to kill her. He's shoved his mother against a wall too. He's got a temper. Zoe says, this case is, I don't know. I don't even have the words for it. Yeah, one reason for that is I'm not a native. But even if I was, damn, everyone is lying. The family members, police, jury members, lawyers. Is there any honest person in this case? No, there's not. So that's why we're never going to know truly what happened. Everything is polluted. Only thing that I know for fact is Stephen and Brendan are innocent. Deanna says, well, death certificate says there was an autopsy. Kind of need a body for that, right? And they have a date on her death certificate before they even found anything, right? Dumb. Audrey says, I think it was Bobby and Scott helped to cover it up. How many other missing girls were happening after? Yeah, one of the moderators here at Stephen Avery Project, she fell down that rabbit hole for a little while because she's just convinced there's no way Bobby wouldn't have something else. And, so yeah, there's a couple girls that ended up missing. Yeah. Andrea says, does anyone know if KZ has spoken to the jurors concerning rumors of them feeling pressured into voting a guilty verdict? I don't know. I don't think she's ever spoken on that. But yeah, that's another main thing in this case, that Stephen would never be found innocent when you put two people from the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department on his jury. So the most he could have hoped for was a hung jury. Those people never should be allowed in the jury pool. So, but then also, was he in court in Calumet or County? Was it Calumet County he went to court, or was he in court in Manitowoc still? It was just Calumet people that came in these. Let me scroll. Zoe answering Audrey on the missing girls. Tara says, I think Scott came in after the fact. Bobby was pissed over that red van being sold. I believe Bobby chased her down to see how much Stephen was selling for, and he lost his temper and killed Teresa. Yeah, I mean, we do know that the boys thought that red van was going to be another vehicle for them, and that they didn't want it sold. We know they knew that it was going to be because Barb told them to clean out the van to have it ready, and that everybody knew Teresa was coming to take pictures of it that day. And we also know that Bobby would say things to Stephen, oh, was your girlfriend here today? So Bobby was taking note of whenever Teresa Hallback was on the property. And then his computer with all the disgusting things he has on there, and the women who look like Teresa, the files on there that say Hallbach on them. Brendan and Blaine didn't do that. That's all Bobby. And the computer was in Bobby's room. Those boys, to this day, all Brendan cares about is video games. So that's all he would use that computer for, is video games. So I do think Bobby had some obsession with Teresa. And see, we have no evidence of what happened to Teresa. So I can't really, I don't want to speculate, so it's like, you can't, just like in Stephen's case, oh, he raped her. There's no proof of that. So, I wouldn't say, oh, Bobby raped her, because we don't know. We don't know what happened to her. And there were times, even if I'm going to give Bobby the benefit of the doubt, because there was the people saying they saw Teresa on the side of the road taking a picture of a cow. And we know that Scott and Bobby both claim they were out hunting. So did she get shot accidentally? So that's only if I want to give the kid the benefit of the doubt that it was an accidental. He was bow hunting too, right? Because there's specific times when you can use a gun for deer hunting and when you can use bow. And wasn't it at that time they were supposed to be bow hunting, which, yeah, again, if Scott's back so bad, I would think bow hunting is hard on your back. Um, but I had thought that he, chased after her for a hustle shot. Well, see, I'm very confused about the bus driver. And I would really love to talk to the bus driver because I've already proven there's no way the bus driver saw Teresa Halbach on Halloween taking pictures of a red van. No way. Because the distance that van is from the bus stop, there's no way she could have seen her. But then I've been told other cars that had been sold that she came to take pictures of were down by the office. So, where did the bus driver see Teresa? Did you see her at the office? Or are you claiming you were able to look down a mile down the road and see somebody taking pictures? Which, if you look at my video of that, there's no way that's possible. So, did Bobby get her down by the office trying to do the whole hustle shot thing? And then what is the whole mystery with Cuss Road? So now the narrative for the defense is that Bobby got her to pull into Cuss Road down at the cul-de-sac, and then that's where something happened, and then she was like temporarily buried out there. I'm very confused by that whole story. Why is she temporarily buried there? It's confusing. um Christy, Scott's home was never searched, correct? He had a place outside of Barb's. I've never heard of Scott's trailer being searched, and he lived only 2 minutes, 3 minutes away. So, and then there's a problem with the trailers. I was talking to somebody else about this the other day. Didn't Scott have some kind of trailer that burned? Can somebody refresh my memory on that? I say all the time that, I knew once upon a time so much on this case and I have forgotten it. And little things, come in my brain. But I could have sworn there was something about Scott's trailer burning. But is it the one that he was living in? That he was renting from the lady that lived right on 147 by him? Somebody clear that all up for me. Lynn says, guess if your two spouses have the same name, you can't screw up and call her the wrong name. Yeah. Kelly says, how did Scott know Carmen Bootwell? Are you talking, is CB Carmen Bootwell there? I'm way behind on this. I don't think Scott knew Carmen Bootwell. Lynn's on here right now. Lynn is our Carmen Bootwell expert. Zoe says, why wouldn't they release the H1 and H2 photos? You can't get them if you FOIA them, right? Yeah, there's stuff that they're definitely hiding. Audrey says Scott's trailer was burnt down. Was it the trailer that he was renting, or did he have a second one like he would bring to Crivets or something, and that one burned down, his personal one? I'm confused on that somebody's telling me there's the possibility of two different trailers. Tina says, what's up with the theory of Buting working with the state? Well, it's because he allegedly has some connection to Peg Lagenschlager. I asked Buting about it directly to his face when he came to Chicago to go to one of Brendan's hearings. Because I told him, and at that time too, I was talking to Steven, and I'm like, Steven hates you. I'm just, I'm being upfront with him. I'm like, Steven hates you, and he thinks that you helped convict him and, that connection with her. And he claims there's not, that he barely knew Peg Lagenschlager. So, and I don't think Buting had anything to do with that. But I do have a problem with Buting has now been out there since Making a Murderer became big, and he's making billions of dollars and traveling the world on Steven's name, and he's not giving Steven a cut. I think he should be giving Steven a cut. Um, but that might just be me. Victoria says, was that confirmed an accidental fire at Scott's trailer or something to destroy evidence? Yeah, I don't remember everything on the trailer now. Julie says, if KZ gets a new trial, can it be moved to another country so he can get a fair trial? Also, a jury from another county. Sorry. Oh, it says country, but you meant county. Kathleen tried to get a new judge and was denied. So I don't think so. Yeah, Lynn saying, I don't think another county will be helpful, maybe another state. So he says, I think Cuss Road is a real crime scene. Yeah, and I'll be going back up there. I know I've got a post in Gossip asking y'all where I should go, and I thought I was going to be going up there a while ago, and I've just had a lot on my plate, so I haven't been able to. But there are a couple of videos here in MAM Gossip from when I've gone to Cuss Road before, and I'm going to go there again. But the thing that I always find really interesting on it too is when you're able to get on that berm, and I mean, you can see Steven's trailer from the cul-de-sac. I mean, that's how close those things are. Yeah, you have to drive around all that land to get there. But if you were to like leave her car there, want to just leave the car there, it would be easy for you to run back. And then same thing with the dam that the car was spotted at. That's right there too. It's like a block, but it's, country and quarry and all that, so it's not like your suburban block, but they're all so very close to one another. And then you have that Barb and Scott bought a home that is literally like 6 houses from the dam. And they have the stream, river, whatever it is, that water is the back of their property line that goes to that dam. They're right there. Tara says, if the bus driver saw she is sitting higher up, she might have been able to see Teresa. No, watch my video. There's no way, it doesn't matter how high up you are. You couldn't tell what color shirt I had on. You couldn't tell that I was holding a camera. You can't tell if I'm male or female. Nothing. But the times don't match. She would have had to have been there a whole hour if that was the case. Brendan said he got off the bus between 3:30 and 3:45. Sonia says, what is going on? Just general talk. Kelly says, I read somewhere, can't remember where, but someone said he had connections to Carmen Bootwell. I might have read it on Reddit. Well, Lynn, if you're still here, is there any connection between Carmen Bootwell and Scott? Now, wasn't there something that Barb and Scott said that they could call the Bootwell family for a lawyer for Kathleen, maybe? I seem to remember that. Zoe says, oh, come on. It's late for me. When it gets interesting, I have to go to bed. Enjoy, guys, and thanks, Jax, for those live. Sorry, Zoe. Yeah, it's only 2:30 in the afternoon here. So, yeah, I seem to remember something about that Barb could reach out to Carmen Bootwell's parents, that she was offering that up to Kathleen. Christina says, could Teresa been stopped by Bobby while leaving salvage yard, which is why the bus driver saw her, not back by Barb's van? Correct. Yeah. That absolutely. That's why it's like somebody needs to talk to that freaking bus driver. Tara says in one of the calls. Up, Lynn just. Oh, I thought Lynn just posted, but it's not here. There's Lynn. Barb and Scott were at one time part of our Carmen Bootwell group, but no known connection to Scott. Okay, thank you very much, Lynn. But Lynn, do you recall something about Barb saying she could reach out to the Bootwell family for Kathleen? Oh, so they only knew about Carmen Bootwell because of the work you were doing. Okay. Hmm. Well, and it's just so hard there too because it seems like there's always these connections to everyone up there. Um so it's hard to keep it all straight. And we did go the last time I was up, we did go to Teresa Hallbach's grave. And so they have her on the back of her parents' headstone, which confuses me because it is her mother and her uncle slash stepfather. And I didn't see her actual father there, but the cemetery had so many Hallbachs in it. So it's not like it's the mother's line of the family, it's Hallbachs. So that confused me. Okay. Lynn says that was said when they were interviewed by Dietering in 2017. Thank you, Lynn. Does anyone know the name of the bus driver, male or female bus driver? Female. It's Lisa, something with a W. You know, because she testified and everything. So, but I would love, love, love to talk to her. Because for me, that's a missing puzzle piece. Because she can't see Teresa down in front of Barb's house. So where did you see her? But she had also testified it could have been a different day. But even if she was there a different day, you still can't see down by Stephen and Barb's. So where did she see Teresa taking pictures? Sonia says, I am going to get that post for you. It was not Carmen. Okay. Ward, I think. I don't know if you can just Google Stephen Avery bus driver. Ah, Lisa Buckner, Buchner. See, and they talk about a blazer, but it was Bobby who wanted to sell a blazer. So let me write down her name. Lisa Buckner. Lisa Buckner. Because she can't. So maybe we need to try and see if we can reach out to her. The two people I would love to speak to are Lisa Buckner, and I'd also like to talk to the coroner. I feel so horrible for the coroner. Yeah, I know I was way off. I thought it was a W something, but Buckner. Buchner. Here is, oh, I posted it. It's on Free Brendan. If it will load, because it's just circling right now. when I clicked on the link saying, here's a testimony of the bus driver. Oh my God. And I posted it May 24, 2016. Here's the link to it. So I posted the screenshots from the transcripts. You can't share this link because this link goes against our community standards. How would it go against your community standards? It's the same from Facebook to Facebook. Well, here, let's see. Can I post it in Gossip? Oh, wait. Can I just share it this way? Share in a group. M-A-M. What are you doing? Why is it freezing on me? A. Gossip. And I'll just title it Lisa Buckner. Well, let me post it. You can't share this link. Why? That's so dumb. Well, thank you, Lynn, for posting it there. All right, let me click on. All right, I'm just going to read this. Question: where would you go when you turned down Avery Road? Answer: I would go to the end and pick the boys up in front of their driveway and then turn around. Question: okay, so when you say the end, down to the end of the paved road that ran north-south, yes, it was a paved road and they were on a gravel road. Question: that you're calling their driveway? Yes. Okay, as you're driving down Avery Road, which side of the driveway, which side of you was the driveway on? The right. Then what did you do at the end of that road? How did you go to the next stop from that? I got to switch to the next piece. Is this in order or not? There's a picture in front of the. Okay, wait. So this is the first because it says number 1. All right. Where did you see the woman who you believe was taking the pictures? Answer: would be in the middle of right there. And now Sweaty Sweat's talking over her. And then he says, you're doing just fine. Thank you. Could you also, would there be any way to show the jurors where you believe the cars were that she was taking photographs of? Answer: right there would be right there, and on both sides of this driveway right there. There was the van and then a car and then a car on the other side, and I think a car behind it, but I'm not sure. There were no multiple cars there. Question: and when you drop the boys off after school, is that where you always drop them off? Yes. Do you know how many cars she was taking photographs of? Nope, wrong way. Where you would drive your bus in. I would drive this way and then drop off right there. Okay, that's where you would drop off the boys? Yeah, and then turn around right there. All right, where did you see the woman who you believe was taking the pictures? In the middle, right there. We've read that already. The road where all the cars are parked, that's Avery Road, she said. And Sweat says, okay, it is and to, and you sure that's Avery Road. She says, I don't know. I'm asking, is it? Question. Okay, yes, that's Avery Road. Answer. And then the gravel road would be the one to the right there. Question. And where, if I were to give you a laser pointer, could you show us where the woman was taking pictures on this? Yes. Okay. And also, Miss Buckner, let me know if it would be helpful because we can zoom into, and it's okay if you can't. Yeah, we read that already. These are all screwed up. Um, could you give us an idea of how far away she was when you saw her? And it's okay if you can't. Answer, I have no idea. Question, and that's okay. And do you know where the vehicles were that she was taking photographs of? Answer, they were at the end of the driveway. Question, and at the end of the where you enter the Avery property, the gravel driveway to the right off of Avery Road by the mailboxes. By if you were to see a diagram of the property, could that help you? Yes. And do you remember? Well, let me ask you this: how close did you get to her? Answer: I have no idea how far away it would have been. I was in a school bus, dropped kids off, and drove away. I'm Question. I mean, 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet away? Answer. Not really sure. Question. 2 blocks away? Answer. No. Okay. Could you just give us an idea? See, these just keep bumbling all around. Um, and where was the woman taking photographs of a van? In the driveway. The driveway you just described? Yeah, the one on the right. Okay. Could you see about how far down the van was? It was right by the pavement right there. I don't know. Okay. Remember anything about the van? No, it was junk. Okay. All right. And, do you remember how did you know the woman was taking photographs? I saw a woman taking photographs. I saw a camera. Mm. So that's everything there. Let me scroll through what you guys were saying. Um, Tina says, after listening to later calls and hearing what the detectives did to Jody, you can clearly understand why some people got on the stand and outright lied. I'm sure they harassed every witness. Oh, they absolutely did. Thank you, Lynn. It can be found there on page 140. Hello, Hazel. Um, Deanna says, is there a place you can watch the whole trial? Not MAM, but it had to be all recorded. Not that I'm aware of, Deanna. I know news stations were there, but I don't know if they filmed the trial. So I don't know about that. And then I don't know if news stations filmed it all, if that's something that could be FOIA'd. Yes, Lisa Buckner, the school bus driver, is who was talking about. And now I'm pulling up Christina. Oh my God, it's so slow. Christina messaged me something on Lisa Buckner. Taking so slow. I'm not sure. She sent me a picture of somebody. Is there video anywhere of just Lisa's testimony? Oh, I'm sure you're listening, but I'm going to type back to you. Not sure. What is wrong with my thing here? I'm so off on this thing. So yeah, on the screen here too, when you're in, it's StephenAveryCase.org. Don't go to StephenAveryCase.com. .com is guilters trying to trick you. .org is a good place. So in case files, witnesses. So you've got Lisa Buckner. And then there's John Lairquin, however you would say that. That's the truck driver that said that he saw her. And then Roland Johnson, who owns Stephen's trailer and owns all the guns and everything. Hmm. So we need the bus driver. I need to know where she saw that. Lynn says, I think there was short video of bus driver testimony on MAM. I know I've seen a short video somewhere. Yeah, I know I've seen it on Making a Murderer, her talking about it. And I know I've seen discussion where she wasn't sure what day it was. It was because 147 was horsed off, blocked off. And so she walked up to it to offer that she had seen this, so she was just trying to be a good citizen. But I believe she said the whole time she wasn't sure what day it was she saw Teresa there. And we know Teresa was there another time in October. It was just a couple weeks earlier, I believe it was, but I don't remember the date for sure. So, yeah. The bus driver has just been something I've always wanted to fall down that rabbit hole. And, I would love to talk to her because I'm not, I don't think she's a bad person or anything like that. It's, I just think it's very important to know exactly where she saw it. I'm going to have to search around and see if I can find that video now, even if I have to play it off of Netflix and scroll through it until I find it. So, all right. I think now I'm going to end this video because now I want to go fall down that rabbit hole. So thank you everybody who joined us today. And remember that Stephen's case has now been pushed back to March 27th. I'll get that posted as well. So investigation continues. Suppose if you ain't got nothing else.